Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome, witches. I'm feeling excited to share that we have an amazing workshop-y ceremony in the Apothecary membership this month on the 24th of September that is all about creating space for your witch. Choosing to create space for our witch in a crazy modern world is a huge challenge for the Secret Witch, and so I wanted to offer a practical circle to help women begin to work through this and begin to choose from soul alignment, which maps perfectly to our theme today. So if you are longing to join us, you are very welcome to. You just need to head into the Apothecary membership to gain access. It is pay what you can afford and very accessible. That also offers deep value for any aspiring witchy healer. So you can join at nicolebarton.co.uk/membership. I'll pop it in the show notes. If you want a taster first, I'm also hosting a free ceremony on the 18th of September. It's called Meet Your Witch, and it's a ritualistic experience for anyone who has felt the call to liberate their inner witch and heal themselves so you can claim your magic as a healer. I'll be guiding you into a ceremony where you will meet the inner witch, so head to Eventbrite and sign up for your free ticket at meetyourwitch.eventbrite.com. Let's dive in. In today's episode, I explore the 4 distinct energies that secret witches often move through when making life choices: scarcity, frenzy, resistance, and soul. These subtle but powerful states shape how we choose our path as witches, whether from fear and urgency or from deep alignment with our inner truth. This episode is an invitation for the woman standing at the threshold, longing to say yes to her witchy magic, but unsure how to discern a soul yes from a shadow-driven no. I lovingly unpack how to begin choosing life from soul alignment, not wounding, sharing the felt difference in our bodies between reactivity and resonance, and how to listen to our body as a compass. I offer practical tools, a powerful reflection, to help you notice and lovingly welcome the fear that drives our decisions and guides us home to the part of us that knows how to choose from truth. If you've been hovering between longing and fear, wondering whether to trust the call of your witch, this one is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome, magical one. I am super excited for this episode today. I'm a big fan of this topic because it is all about how to choose life from soul alignment rather than scarcity, frenzy, or resistance. I'm going to explain what I mean about that as we journey through the episode, but ultimately, I'm here to help women hear the call of their witch and notice the fear that has us choosing from those places rather than soul. So out of alignment and fear rather than soul alignment. And to help us begin to discern what that looks like. How does fear feel in our body? How does truth feel in our body? How does alignment feel in our body, basically? And that's what all of my work is really about. Because real healing is all about reclaiming our souls. It's not how the mainstream world at all views healing, but in terms of magical healing, any rupture to our soul where we're not living in alignment is where dis-ease is created. That's one of the beliefs that kind of forms my path. It's a very witchy belief, and I'm here for all of it. Something that I really embodied as I've made my way through my healing journey. And one of the most courageous things, really, that I've ever learned to do is to live a soul-aligned life, where I've created relationships that fulfill my heart, where I've created a witchy healing business that fits around my daughter and is created in alignment with my heart's desires, and a magical life But that wasn't easy. And that's why I say it was courageous. And it's one of the things that I'm passionate about saying to people. You know, we always dream about living a soul-led life as a witch. And many other paths, many of the teachers will tell you that's easy. You just follow 3 steps and that's it. But I'm here to tell you it's not, because I'm here to be in integrity. And I know that I myself have journeyed through the similar frustrations of being a woman who's here to be a healer, who has been sold quick fixes and who has ended up depleted, people-pleasing, burned out, exhausted, drained. And I'm here to help people heal that and reclaim their souls, their witchy souls in particular. And if you're here, you're listening to this, it's likely that you're aligned to be a witch and to be, living from soul, because that's what this work and this path is all about. And it's not easy, but it's also not easy to not live from soul, because when we're not living from soul, we are exhausted, we are burned out, we are drained of life force energy. And that's often the thing that pulls people into listening to this podcast, into feeling like, oh yeah, there's a resonance here with the Secret Witch. And so the Secret Witch episode today is for the woman who is feeling called to her magic, to a life of more soul, to a life of more fulfillment, more purpose. Like there's a sense like I'm here for more than this mundane shit. And yet also there's fear, there's feeling scared, there's feeling terrified. And so if this is you, I want to acknowledge that that in itself is a sign that a choice point is arising. Perhaps around your magic, perhaps around a next step, perhaps around leaning in more deeply, because we're here to talk about how to choose life from soul alignment rather than fear, which is ultimately the overall energy of the episode. But ultimately, if you're listening to this, then there's probably a choice point that you're feeling called to make deep down, whether you consciously are aware of that or whether it's unconscious at this point. Like I suspect there's some kind of choice that you're feeling into soul that is why you're listening. And so before we even dive in, like I want this episode to be a deep breath for you, like a pause, a moment to remember that you can choose from soul and not from fear. I'll talk more to that. But this choice isn't something that most secret witches recognize in today's world. Our ancient ancestresses, on the other hand, would likely have been deeply connected to their inner wisdom, to their inner knowing, to the choices that they're being called to. They would know the call to their witch instantly. It was embodied for them. It was passed down and celebrated until we started burning women at the stake. And our culture began to fear the witch's power, her magic, her truth. These 3 things are things that we're here to reclaim. Things that actually help us, ironically, to be able to connect to soul and choose from soul, choose what's aligned. And so ultimately what's happened is we've gone through that wound, and it's passed down through epigenetics in our bodies from our ancestresses. And that's the witch wound has had us disconnect from answering the calls to our magical witchy wisdom. It's had us stop feeling that we can choose our witch. And that's why so many secret witches arrive here feeling like, oh, I just can't choose her. And heartbreak is heartbreaking. Like heartbreaking, we might not even hear her call. It's likely that if you're here, you've heard it on some level. And we may hear her. We may also hear her call. And if we do, then immediately fear shows up. So you might be in one of those 2 camps, either not hearing the call at all, is completely unconscious, and you're listening and you're like, oh, this is interesting. It might be that you're here to be a witch. You might also have some resistance to that, so go gently in that. Or you might be hearing that call and be like, yes, I'm here to be a witch, and all the fear is there. So this is the episode for you if you are standing at the edge of something sacred. The fear comes in, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of wasting money, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being hurt again, the fear of being burned again by another path. Like these sorts of fears are the things that have us typically kind of convinced or compelled to choose out of our aligned choices. Things like pushing past our body's nose because we feel fear, like continuing to hustle and conform to society, not creating space for our witch, which is something that's really, really common for secret witches. And also within the apothecary, I think this week, I'm just trying to think when this episode goes out, on the 25th of September, there will be a particular circle in the apothecary all about how to create space for a witch, because this is so common. Like, this kind of not choosing our souls is so common for secret witches. Like, we end up choosing other things all the time, and we're likely choosing them from scarcity, frenzy, or resistance. So I'm going to talk more to that. But ultimately, we're saying yes to things that aren't aligned. Like, we're saying yes to things that maybe have us avoid our magic, like mundane things that we don't really want to say yes to, things that we say yes that are really a no. Unconsciously, we're saying yes to things that offer us quick fixes, like quick fix healing, numbing ourselves with alcohol, drugs, work, sex, scrolling, whatever it is. Like, we're saying yes to things that aren't aligned and saying no to things that are aligned, and in general, and vice versa, and in general, like making unconscious choices from scarcity, frenzy, or resistance. And I recently shared a post on this, in particular in relationship to how I don't want people to buy from me from scarcity, frenzy, or resistance, but to choose their path from soul. And that was particularly in reference to that. So I'm going to dive deeper into what I mean by that. But it was it's what inspired this episode. And it might sound quite radical to share. Like, I don't want you to buy from me unless you're choosing from soul. It's like, why am I pushing people away? But I mean it, because I'm not here for women to choose the path from fear, pressure, urgency, fixing. Like, I make that very clear on all of the things that I share. And it's partly why I've also made the apothecary, our membership, pay what you can afford, to make it so that no woman is forced to choose from fear. Like, even the pricing has been made, the investment has been made accessible. Because that has been me. Like, I have been the one who has chased teachers that I thought had answers, invested from panic, bought quick fixes that burned me. And so it's really important to me to make this path one of integrity, one of truth, one of accessibility, so that all the fears that are kind of like barriers to the path are removed, and people can choose from soul and learn how to choose from soul. Because the kind of paradoxes, which I'll talk more to, is that kind of in order to choose into our witch and keep choosing her, we need to learn how to embody the witch and her wisdom and her knowing of what's aligned in order to choose it. So we kind of need her wisdom in order to choose it, which is paradoxical. So I offer ways that people can begin to walk that path and start to attune to that in small, tender steps, so that they can start to liberate this. That's what all my work is about. Because the voice that says, oh, those teachers have the answer, or like we have to invest from panic, or quick fixes are the way, like that isn't soul, it's wounding. And I talked about this in my post, particularly through the lens of like buying into stuff, like why I don't want you to buy from me unless it's from soul. Because that's something I really want to be honest about. Like, I don't want you to buy from me from fear, from pressure, from panic, from this voice that says, if I don't do this, then I'll miss my chance to be fixed. Because I'm not inviting you here to fix you. Like, this is about reclaiming our wholeness. This is about loving the lost parts of our souls back home, and only you can do that. Because that voice that says that is not our soul, it's our wounding. And I know that because I have walked it too. As I said, I've spent money I didn't have on quick fixes. I've chased teachers who seemed to have what I lacked. And I wasn't choosing in those moments from soul alignment. I was choosing because I was afraid of being broken. And I create this because I want more for secret witches. Like, there are so many teachers out there selling these quick fix false promises from fear. Again, it's innocent from their side, because they are also doing what they've been taught. Like, they're not intentionally, consciously selling quick fix false promises. It's just not something that they're aware of. And what I want to help people begin to understand and feel in your body, because this is a very embodied path. It's a very like sensory path. It's like we want to feel in our bodies the difference between reactivity, fear, and resonance, soul. So choosing from fear versus choosing from soul. Because the Secret Witch, when she begins her healing, and I'm going to deep dive into these a little bit more, but I'll just briefly share, there's often like 4 distinct energies of choosing. And each of those have been like the protective mechanisms to protect her magic until there's no need to protect her magic anymore. And if you're here, you're probably on that threshold of like, okay, I don't actually need to protect my magic anymore. Like, it's time to let it shine. The first one is scarcity, which I mentioned. This is kind of like a frozen state where we fear that there's not enough time, money, worthiness, we're not worthy enough. We hold our breath, we stay small, we hope that no one sees how lost we feel. And we feel like we need something to make us whole, something external. So the scarcity. Frenzy is that kind of panicked scramble for a quick fix. Like, if you're desperate to escape discomfort, like we'll just go towards anything that promises relief, even if it's not truly aligned. Because at that point, we probably don't know what is aligned. Resistance. By the way, we might know what's not aligned. We might have more of a sense of that, but even that can come from like shadow, which I'll talk more to. Resistance is the third one. At this point, we kind of hear the call of our witch, but we're like hesitant. It's that kind of logical, like we circle around analysis, we override what our body or heart says, and we try and intellectualize everything. Like every nudge from soul, we're like, oh yeah, but is that really a call from the witch or is it something else? Like we try and logic our way into safety. And often this is the place where secret witches end up not choosing anything. Like we get so overwhelmed by the intellectualization that we choose not to invest in ourselves at all, or not to make the choice at all. Not because we don't feel the call, we don't feel a resonance, but because we've been burned before, particularly by decisions that we've made in scarcity or frenzy in the first 2 phases. So this is a cautious kind of self-protective phase where soul is really whispering and we're just resisting it. And it has us not taking action at all. And the fourth one, of course, is soul. Making soul-aligned choices, how to choose from soul. Soul, we move from truth. We feel resonance. We slow down our process. We choose slowly, like from alignment, not from urgency. We start to feel the difference of that in our body. We begin to commit and lean into trust of our magic to follow the next breadcrumb, even if that is hard to choose, which it often is. And that really is the energy that I want women to choose from when they enter the archetypal apothecary path that I offer. Not from pressure, not from panic, but from a considered soulful choice. And as I say that, I also name it's likely that there will be the other phases showing up. It takes time to unlearn our wounded choices, but we want to slow the process down. And this isn't just about choosing in this path, by the way, it's choosing anything in life. Like we're talking about ultimately soul alignment, and that might be somebody else's path for all I know. But essentially it's about not rushing. It's about reclaiming what's from soul, what's true, what's aligned, was truly aligned. And I'm going to talk about the difference between soul and shadow in a bit as well. But ultimately, it's not coming from fixing, it's not coming from fear, it's coming from a place of knowing what's aligned. Now, that particular post that I talked about was framed very much around buying, the phases of buying that we go into in the journey of soul, but it's really ultimately a powerful framework for how we choose more widely from shadow or soul. Shadow, another word for shadow is wounding or fear. And ultimately what we're talking about is the difference between reactivity and resonance, or fear and soul. And I named in there 3 unconscious wounds that show up and create for us the scarcity, the frenzy, and the resistance. So I'm going to take you a little bit deeper, and if there's anything more to go into around how they show up, how they feel in the body, and how we begin to recognize their energy in real life. Scarcity really, number 1, is where we feel lack. There's a sense of there's not enough. Often the secret witch will be here. She'll put off her connection to magic or the witch because she fears there's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough support, or she's not worthy of it. So when this shows up, like we're not creating space for our witch because we're choosing life from a place of feeling adequate, from compensating, we're choosing life from lack. Lack is all we can see. And maybe from this place, nothing changes because we feel so wedded to our mundane choices, to people pleasing, to running on the hamster wheel, because it's going to get us approval. And so we might dance in and out, but ultimately we feel lack and fear, and that is where we are making our choices from. Now, how we know we're in that state of choosing is that the sensations in our body will feel very different to our inner yes. Like we might feel that initial inner yes and be like, oh yeah, I'm here to be a witch. And like our body, like think about that actually, even just pause and tune in for a minute. If you know you're here to be a witch, like how does that feel in your body when you think about it? Like, oh yeah, I'm here to be a witch. Like you can feel different sensations in your body. Just name them. Like maybe there's some butterfly kind of tingling or truth bumps, as I call them, goosebumps in the body. Maybe there's like a warmth in your heart space. I don't know. Like everybody has different sensations, but that's like kind of indicative of your yes. And then think about when you come to meet the challenge of actually showing up to making the choice to even just creating space for your witch. Like there can be kind of tension, tightness, constriction, like a place of, oh God, well, yeah, but that's really edgy because da da da. Like the sensations in your body are different here to our inner yes. And that's important to start to discern. So also frenzy, going into point 2, just to break that one down, because again, we think about how that feels in the body. Like frenzy is where we choose because we're desperate to escape where we are. So we might choose our witch. We might have a moment of choosing our witch. Maybe we've stepped in that first tender step because we finally burned out. We can't take anymore. Maybe we've ignored the call to the witch for so long, from being in the first phase and her call to living in soul alignment as a healer. And we've ignored it because of scarcity for so long that we've kind of now got no choice. Like our life has burned down. We have burned out. This was me when I had chronic fatigue and I literally lost my job. And at one point I couldn't walk. Like this is frenzy. Like we're desperate now because we've burned down to the point of like, now there's nothing left to choose but magic. Like there's no option. We want relief. Nobody else in the world can figure out what's going on with our symptoms. Like this is common for the witch to have burned down to the point where it's like the doctor doesn't understand. Or you've got some sort of mysterious illness that nobody understands. Like there's literally now we're faced with like there's no other choice but magic. And we want relief. So we grasp then any choice just to find the fix. This was me as I was like trying to heal myself and figure out, well, I was actually trying to get other people to heal me, feeling that power was outside of me. Like there's this sense of like, I just want relief from what I'm experiencing. And that is commonly quick fixes. That is also where the choice is coming from in our body. So at this point, we've experienced a rupture of some kind. Maybe our life is just in so much chaos. Maybe there's not a rupture, but it's just a lot of chaos and we're feeling we can't cope anymore. And so we're unconsciously choosing all the quick fixes in life, not from soul, but from a place of trying to fix. And that's exhausting. And it's not us choosing in life from soul, but from chaos and distraction. And here, again, if this is you, like feel into your body, how does that feel in your body? Again, there might be tightness, tension, constriction. Slow down and feel like, how does that feel? In this sense of like trying to solve, trying to find relief, like how does that have a particular texture to it or color or sense? Just name it. The third one is to go a bit deeper into resistance. So this is the part of the choice point where we've maybe chosen all the things from desperation. And this isn't totally linear, by the way, but it can be. And now we decide that we're not going to choose anything at all. And this is because we have heard the call to our witch and we have a soul and to have a solid life, but we feel so burned by our mistakes in the scarcity and frenzy choices that we now rationalize it, we override it, we overthink, we say no, not now, maybe another time. And so we avoid taking action. Soul is calling us, but we put it off because we have taken action before from the frenzied state, from the scarcity state, And it burned us. We burned ourselves at the stake from being in those fearful choices. And this is where we often resist choice at all. We stop taking any action because we've been burned out from our previous choices, whether that's any action that's from fear or even aligned action. Like, it can leave us taking no action at all. And again, leaves us feeling not good in our bodies. Like, if this is you, how does it feel in your body? How it feels to you feel different to me, but I suspect it doesn't feel good. It's still that kind of tension, that tightness, that sense of like, oh, like, in fact, possibly some confusion, because it's like, well, I don't know. I don't trust myself now, because I thought I was trusting myself to make those choices. And now, like, I've burned myself down even more. And it's important to acknowledge these three phases as wounded, unconscious choices. But it's also helpful to know that they're protective mechanisms. And so what's more helpful to look at and to acknowledge and illuminate is something that the secret witch often misses. And that is the fact that we are always the one making the choice. Now, I say that knowing full well it doesn't always feel that way, because we can easily feel victim to life happening to us, to these things just happening, to these external things being just pressures. And I know that I used to feel that for sure, and sometimes still do. Like, when I'm in my wounding, I will be like, why has this happened to me? God damn it. Like, I know, like, and I feel for the most part, like, I'm choosing life, or my soul is, and still I'm like, fuck, why did that happen? Like, what's going on? How dare that happen to me? So I feel deep compassion if that's where you are, when you're feeling like life is so busy and we can't choose differently. This is something I'm going to be speaking to in that circle in September. But we are always choosing something in each moment, even if that's for a particular reason. Like, we are the ones choosing it. And that is so powerful to just realize, because so often the secret witch feels like we're not choosing it, like it's all just happening to us. But we can always choose out of it. So our work here in the secret witch path is to learn how to, 1, see that we are the chooser, 2, illuminate where we're choosing from, whether that's fear or soul, and 3, begin to work with that, like loving ourselves in those old patterns of scarcity, frenzy, or resistance, so that we can choose from soul alignment instead. That's what all of our path is about. Because the cost of not choosing that way are that we stay looping in the same patterns of exhaustion, burnout, not living our destiny as the healer witches that we've come here to be, like feeling exhausted, feeling unmagical. We end up not living our truth, not claiming our power, not owning our magic, and feeling frustrated, feeling like there's something more for me. So just take a moment, just pause, and just take a breath and just tune in. Just notice where these patterns live in the fabric of your body. Again, with no fixing, no judgment, just awareness, because this is the practice that we want to start to be with. And maybe you want to pause and just go into that a little bit. I'm going to speak more to the 4th option, which is, of course, what we've come here for, how to choose life from soul alignment. As the 4th option of where to choose from is about soul alignment. Because soul alignment and choosing from soul alignment is honestly such a radically different choice for our society that most witches and pretty much most people don't know how it feels. Like, often it's misinterpreted as following the signs, or waiting until it feels good, or waiting for the aligned opportunity to show up, or waiting to feel ready, or waiting for the universe to provide us the next step. By the way, these are not soul. They are also shadowy forms of resistance that the spiritual world has sold to us, because self-help went from all hustle and grind into the opposite swing, and quite the radical swing to the other end of the pole of doing, and was like, now we do nothing. And everyone felt the relief in that, because like, we've been hustling for so long to just not do anything. It's like, oh, thank God, like a new way. But that's not choosing soul. That's just a shadowy form of resistance, the radical swing to the opposite end of the pole. And don't get me wrong, there can also be some healing in that, if we're at the point of the path where that's needed. So for those of us who haven't stopped doing our forcing and hustling, especially if we are burned out, that can be so healing. But it's important to choose that consciously, and that's the work that I'm inviting you into, and at the part of the path where it's needed. So for example, like I did, we've been waiting for the universe to line up opportunities to embrace our wish for 5 years and sitting on our bums, like rejecting any sense of doing because we still fear burning out, because that's what happened to us in the first decision phases. Like, then it's probably time to move out of that phase and learn to let our soul lead, which is exactly what happened to me. Because it's a myth that our soul will make things easy. Like, spiritual teachings will teach us that soul work is easy. It is not. In fact, all of the soul readings that I've ever done, and all the work to help women discover their medicine, it's rare to find someone who actually likes what they discover as their soul gift. Usually the response goes something like, "What? No, that can't be my soul purpose." And then 6 months later, as they integrate it, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that actually makes total sense." Like, I just had to walk through the fire of soul to get there. And I name this because soul-aligned choices often don't feel comfortable. And there's this idea that we've been sold that they should, that soul-aligned choices should provide relief. But if we're longing for relief, we're likely back in making choices in life from frenzy or scarcity. So soul-led choices, how do we choose life from soul alignment? Well, it helps to know what soul-led feels like, firstly, because it's so rare for people to choose this way, that it's commonly misunderstood. And by the way, if it were easy, everybody would be choosing soul. So there's a reason why people are not choosing soul. But it's commonly misunderstood. Like, soul-led choices are found in truth. They're beyond our wounds. They are found by slowing the choice down. They're found by attuning to our hearts, by listening deeply to what's going on internally. They're found by listening to the body and how she feels, and not just necessarily in our no, because our no can come with wounding. And there's just a sense of like aliveness and resonance in the body, even if it's tender or scary to choose the thing that we're contemplating choosing. Like, there's a full body knowing or calling to it if we can hear it. And even if there is fear, and usually there is fear, like, it's not always comfortable, but you can usually feel that it's true. And it's this that makes soul choices so hard to discern, to know, to feel sometimes, because we've been taught that there's a quick fix, that we can avoid the hard parts of the path, that if it feels hard, it's a sign not to do it. But the journey in truth to your witchy soul is the journey to the underworld. You know, Maureen Murdoch talks of the heroine's journey and how we have to meet the demons to reclaim our feminine. And I kind of mapped that there's a healer's journey too. Like, there's some kind of like breaking point or unspoken threshold that has a sphere to lean in, where we kind of enter this next phase of like survival and the call to the witch's initiation. And then we also have, we journey with like a feminine reawakening, which is why a lot of the remedies in this path are feminine remedies for feminine healing. And then we kind of meet our guide, have kind of a place of devotion, and conscious healing begins. And that conscious healing is what I'm inviting you into. And then we go into descent with our soul wound. We move through ancestral healing, we reclaim our magic, and we learn to serve our remedy into the world. That's a very, very brief execution of the healer's journey that I'm mapping out. But ultimately, the point is there's darkness in that journey. And the reason why this is so important to illuminate is that so many secret witches think that if it feels hard, it can't be aligned, because that's what spirituality has taught us. Like, just flow and go easy. Like, especially about the feminine. Like, we're taught the feminine is just like sit back and do nothing. Like, just relax into our feminine. Like, but that's not true. Like, soul will call us to difficult things. And difficulty isn't a sign of misalignment. Like, when we want to create juicy, fulfilling, soul-led lives as healer witches, that does not mean easy. It means living our true will, living as our soul came here to live, living our purpose. They call it the great work. And that might feel edgy, will feel edgy. I don't know why I'm saying might, it will feel edgy to choose. Like, we have to journey through our unspoken threshold, heed the witch's call to initiation, enter our own feminine reawakening, devote to our healing, learn to navigate our descent to soul, and return bearing medicine. If we're here to be healers, that's the journey of reclaiming. Like, we have to heal ourselves first to be able to help others with that same journey. And that is not easy, but it might be deeply aligned for your soul. So how do we know what's soul aligned? Given all of that, I recently had a question in the apothecary from a woman who's asking a common question that shows up for many secret witches. And that is how to know if your next step is a true aligned action from soul versus shadow actions. And if that is something that you're wondering as well, like, firstly, I want to bring some compassion to this. And thank you for the question, by the way, my love. I know if you're listening, you know it's you. But I want to bring some compassion to this question, because there is a perfectionist part of the secret witch who doesn't want to get any aligned action or any action wrong. She wants every action to be soul aligned, and if she finds out it isn't, then she'll feel like she's failed. And so, like, to even answer this question, like, I have a gentle reminder that we can still choose the wounded choices. I think I mentioned this in Archetypal She-Wolf once, and it spoke really profoundly to one woman. It's like, oh, I don't have to get it right. How liberating. Of course, She-Wolf, being the wild woman, came in to show us that. And by the way, if you want to journey with She-Wolf, she's in the apothecary as a self-paced journey, but she's very potent for this particular like feeling into what's aligned. We went into that in quite some depth. She definitely wanted us to know that. But we don't have to like worry about making wounded choices. Like, we can still choose the wounded choice. We can give ourselves permission to honor our shadow or wounded no's. So even if a no is from shadow or wounding, like, that's okay. Those are there to protect us. Likewise, if our yes is from shadow or wounding, that is also okay. Like, we don't have to get it right. We can make a mess. The deepest invitation here is to begin to understand ourselves and enter a self-illumination process, to understand our choices better, not to shame ourselves, not to beat ourselves up, but to be able to make the whole process of choice-making conscious, to reclaim our power as a creatrix. So really, in many ways, we don't need to fear making choices from scarcity, frenzy, or resistance, because it's normal in our world. 99% of people are doing this all the time. There's no rush to a more soul-aligned choice. There's no shame, even if we never choose it. Like, there's just a conscious choice and an invitation into a more conscious way of choosing our lives for those who want that. So, all that said, if we do, how do we tell? How do we know if our next step is truly an aligned action from soul or a shadow action? The truth is, it's an intuitive inwards listening journey that takes some time and practice. That's why we slow it down. That's why the work of the witch helps us to attune to that. And the paradox is, as I said before, that it requires us to begin to embody our witch, to learn how to embody her, to be able to choose her fully. So there's some dancing in and out of soul-led choices, often for the secret witch, as we move to be able to choose her more fully. And that's partly why I created the apothecary, so that women can take a tender step in and begin to heal and learn this at their own pace. Because all that we do in the apothecary is about helping women to attune to their inner wisdom and alignment. And there are some pieces of that journey that I can speak to through, to kind of illustrate what we're in the work of here, and how we can begin to, even if you don't join the apothecary, like how you can begin to kind of broadly, like giving you a compass for how to discern this. Like a rough, like, follow this way and you will find it. So number one is we have to learn how to reconnect to our body. Our body, and by the way, these four things probably are somewhere woven into the elements of our path, embodiment being one of them. So these are all kind of baked into our path, but ultimately there's kind of like elements, if you like, that if you follow, you will get there to be able to discern. So yeah, we have to learn how to reconnect to our body. Our body will always know the way. She will always tell us the way. Whether she reveals a heart and soul yes through her sensations, whether she reveals a fear through her sensations, which isn't always indicative of a no, by the way, as we mentioned, she will reveal that. She will reveal that through sensations, through the tightness and constriction I was guiding you into seeing, through opening and butterflies, through anything else you can notice in your own body. So there's a whole process of reconnecting to the body to learn to discern its messages, because the body is soul's messenger. And we have to learn how to attune to desire, number 2. So element number 2, I did a whole episode on this last month about how desire is a compass, because usually we can trust our desire because it's so pure. It's like a little nugget from our soul saying this way. So if we can access it, and that's usually by the sensations in our body, then that's usually a good indication of soul alignment. I caveat that because sometimes our desires can be fantasies from shadow too. In fact, pretty much almost always, often they are. But that is also okay. Like, we can play in our fantasies and learn from them. So don't go too deep into what I just said there about our desires being fantasy. Like, that is okay. Like, there's a beauty in that. We're basically just choosing what fantasies we want to play in all of the time. So anyway, that's taking us down into a rabbit hole. Number 3 is we have to learn to work with our shadow lovingly so we can discern where that is choosing for us. This is about making our shadows conscious, making our wounds conscious, so that we can see where we're creating from. I did talk about this, I think, in the last episode as well. So I'd recommend listening to both of these episodes if you're loving this one, because you might get some more context from the previous one. That said, it's important when we're attempting to discern soul alignment to be willing to be in some kind of illumination process. 99% of the time, our wounding is creating for us, having us lean into choices from scarcity, frenzy, or resistance, having us either make crazy moves or not making any moves at all. The Secret Witch in particular experiences this swing between the two, choosing to either go all in or choosing no action. And she'll flip-flop between the two because she's been burned out by exhaustion, giving too much of herself, people-pleasing, etc. So she has fear around taking action. She also has fear around trusting her body's wisdom. So she finds that attuning hard. And so what can happen as we begin attuning to these things is our body sensations mostly show us fear, which can have us convinced that nothing is aligned. And I see this a lot when people are choosing into the work of the witch. They feel the call, and then they can feel an inner no from fear, even though their pure desire was true and soul-led. And this is normal. And usually that inner no is a fear-based no rather than a soul-aligned no. We just don't yet know how to discern the two because we haven't worked with illuminating our shadow or how it feels in the body. So that's why I encourage any secret witch to lean in through that fear at your own pace and begin to get curious about it so you can begin to choose consciously. It is a process, most certainly. And as I said, the work I do in the world is all pointing back to us seeing our shadows and learning how to make our choices conscious and reclaim the power to discern what choices offer soul versus fear. Whilst also remembering that fear is there as a learned protective mechanism that may no longer be useful but still wants to be honoured. And as I said, it's the paradox of the witch that the witchy work itself helps her to attune to this, by reconnecting you to your body, helping you illuminate shadow, allowing you to sense and intuit what's true. Now, the fourth thing that feels important to talk about here, and this isn't linear, but it's also not capturing all of it. It's just 4 things that really feel true to me in this moment, as to how we begin to choose life from soul alignment, is we have to learn to take aligned action and learn from it. So often we'll try and intellectualize this process, but we have to be willing to lean into an imperfect choice and see what information is then revealed in that. Like, we spend so long in our lives waiting for the choice to be right, avoiding making the wrong, in inverted commas, choice. And there is no right or wrong. Like, that's a fantasy. That's a perfectionism. And that leaves us in the resistance. Like, resistance can show up as perfection. We avoid taking action in case we get it wrong or feel shame. And that leaves our soul out in the cold. So we truly have to be willing to make a mess. to take action, to see it if it's aligned, to learn from it, to learn from our soul. And even that really is soul aligned along the path of liberating our soul. So to lean into the action we think is aligned, we have to be willing to be with the material for liberation that shows up to show us what's true. If we aren't taking aligned actions, it's unlikely that we're choosing life from soul alignment. We're likely just stuck in the freeze of perfection, scarcity, and resistance. So overall, that's a very whistle-stop tour of making soul aligned choices. I made it sound really simple. It is not. This is like a lifetime's work. It's been a work of years and years for me. But overall, as a compass for you to work with, I invite you to lean into choosing from soul desires. If you're feeling the call to something, follow that nudge, play with it, play and see what you notice. Like, notice that fear may not be a stop sign. Notice that you have choice. Notice what your desires are showing you. This is all your first steps into healing. And even if you just notice those things, you will learn from it. Like, especially if you have the support or reflection of a guide, and that doesn't have to be me, that might be anyone. Ideally, a good practitioner or witchy guide that's able to help you illuminate your own shadows and not project theirs onto you, or at least own, like, that. In fact, that's impossible. Like, they need to be able to own that they're projecting their shadows onto you. That is rare to find, but there are some amazing guides out there that can truly do this, and it is so vital. So I think we're moving towards the end, but I just want to leave you with a reminder that you don't need to be fully healed to begin. You don't need to get it right. You don't need to be like, okay, I'm only going to make soul aligned choices. Like, this work is just beginning to notice where you're choosing from, loving yourself in it, and exploring what true soul alignment feels like in your body. Like, how do you know how it feels to be in alignment? There's a clue in that when we are choosing from shadow, we end up feeling depleted and exhausted, whereas when we're choosing from soul, we tend to feel alive, juicy, and energized. There's one quote that's always stood out to me, and I think I wrote this in a post actually, that a great example of how this can show up and that sums it up perfectly. Haha, perfection. That I remember from Martha Beck. She said, if dancing is restful and resting is stressful, then dance. And that always stuck with me, because one of the things I always used to do is to go off societal expectation, which we can do when we're out of alignment. But soul alignment shows up essentially in what feels nourishing, even if it's challenging. Even if, like, you're feeling like the world thinks that we should rest by lying down, but dancing feels restful. Like, that is what our soul is calling us to. And that can look however it looks, but it will leave you feeling energized and nourished rather than depleted. Soul alignment returns us to our vitality, to our energy, which is another reason it's so vital for the witch to choose it, because she's so often not in vitality, because she's been making unaligned choices. And it's this really that is how we stop searching for the remedy and become it. Like, this is what it means to answer the call of our witch medicine. To live from soul is really to heal ourselves. And that is the medicine that the world needs. So the more we can embody living from soul, the more potent medicine we will become for others. So, yeah, I'm going to leave you with a reflection. Of course, this journey is supported inside the Archetype Apothecary. If you want to join us, there's no pressure to join, only if it's a soul yes. And if you trial it and it's a no, and you're like, oh, well, I played with that, wasn't good, there's only a 3-month commitment. And if you have tried everything and it didn't give you any kind of healing, then you can also enter the money back guarantee. So it's really a win-win. Like, there's no way of losing. But yeah, I'd say that's an invitation. But I would love to leave you with something as we complete. So I'd love to leave you with this inquiry. Where do you feel yourself in this right now? Like, where are you noticing how you're making choices? Is it from scarcity? Is it fear or truth? Is it from frenzy? Is it urgency? Is it from resistance? Is it like this sense of survival and resisting? Or is it from soul? And what would you choose if you fully trusted your magic? I can invite you to pause just for a moment, maybe close your eyes, maybe put your hand on your heart, hand on your womb, just feel in your body. Notice your sensations. Perhaps this is the first time you've attuned to your body in a while. Just let her speak. And sometimes we just have to begin to be in this practice of sensation awareness. Like that's maybe the first breadcrumb, the first next step. Just notice what sensations arise. Name them if you can. And when I ask you to name them, I don't mean feelings or emotions. I mean literal physical sensations. Hot, cold, tight, tense, soft, whatever it is. What are these sensations showing you of your choices? That is a really powerful practice to be in that I'm leaving you with. Body attunement being really the first step to discerning. Like, use this to start discerning. And there's no giant leap required. Like, even if all you can do right now is to soften, to breathe, to tune in, like that's where the path begins to making soul-aligned choices. Gorgeous. I'm going to leave you right there. Feel free to stay with the body. And I loved today's episode. Here are my takeaways. Choosing from fear is not wrong. It's a learned protection. Scarcity, frenzy, and resistance are old survival patterns, not our truth. And they're not stop signs. They're a call to healing. Our soul, yes, won't always feel easy, but it will feel true. It may come wrapped in fear, but underneath is resonance, aliveness, and a deep body knowing. We're always choosing, whether consciously or unconsciously, and recognizing that is the beginning of reclaiming our power. Soul alignment is rarely comfortable, but it is deeply alive. Our body may tremble, the mind may question, but if it's truly soul aligned, it will nourish us, not deplete us. Resistance isn't a no, it is a sacred pause. It often arises when our soul is whispering yes, but our wounds aren't yet sure it's safe to trust it. That is completely normal, and that too can be loved and chosen differently. We don't need to wait until we are fully healed to begin. Choosing from soul is the beginning of our healing. This is how we stop searching for the remedy and become it.